Hey guys, today we're going to do the unboxing and overview of the OneNetbook One Mix 4. This is the latest addition in their One Mix line of mini laptops or UMPCs or netbooks or whatever you want to call them, made by OneNetbook, which is a Chinese maker of these small computing devices. I think they're the main competitor to GPD, who is also Chinese, and if you're into these micro laptops or UMPCs or netbooks, whatever you want to call them, if you're into this space, then I'm sure you've all heard of OneNetbook. So yeah, this is their latest, I think what might be one of their latest models. The A1 Pro, I believe they also came out with fairly recently as well, but this one came out late last year, 2021. Finally getting my hands on it because I'm a collector of small laptops, UMPCs, just really cool, small gadgets. That's what I'm looking at. Really cool phones or really cool laptops, anything really unique. That's what I am curious about. That's what I'm interested in. So of course, OneNetbook, I'm always keeping an eye on their lineup. So when they released the One Mix 4, of course, I knew I had to check it out. So, all right, this is a box for it. I don't know what happened with this. It just got shipped to me like that. But anyways, that's just the lid. All right, so now inside, this should be pretty much brand new. This is a One Mix 4. I got this, by the way. The price for this is fairly expensive. It is usually $1,000. I got this for $960 from eBay. And if you get it from Geek Buying or AliExpress, then you might be able to find more configurations, but I got this one from eBay. Alright, so that's the laptop itself, and then as always from these OneNetbook unboxings, I think all their boxes are pretty similar. You come with a this little envelope here, which will go over the quick start guide or the manual. Of course, going to be in Chinese. I think they have version in English as well. So yeah, these are going to go over the basic functionality of the laptop, and we'll take a look at the keyboard and the ports and the different functionalities of this. So of course comes with that, and then also comes with the charger. Of course, I'm not sure if this one comes with a pen. A lot of these One Mix devices, which are convertible, a lot of OneNetbook devices actually are inherently, they come in a convertible form. They usually, sometimes they come with a pen, sometimes they don't. Take a look. So yeah, this is a USB-C cable right here, of course. And then this is a little bit of a bigger brick than we're used to. For these small UMPC netbook type devices, we're used to seeing like really small chargers. This one is a bit of a bigger brick, and I think the reason why is because this laptop actually comes with a pretty powerful processor. So, yep, there's no pencil or anything like that. No pen. Sometimes OneNetbook does include the pen, but I think you have to buy a specific package for it to come with it. But yeah, this one did not, even though I believe this is a convertible, just like most of their other devices. So yeah, let's take a look at this one. Interesting. So this one is a, it says it has a Core i7 sticker on it, but it's actually a Core i5 model. So don't pay attention to the sticker. I don't know why they have a Core i7 sticker on it, because it's actually using a Core i5. So yes, the CPU on this machine is a Core i5 1130G7. So if you go out and you look at all the Ultrabooks and premium laptops that are available on the market today, you might actually find this processor, the Core i5 1130G7 or the Core i7 1165G7, I believe. So you might actually find this processor on a full-size laptop. So what's interesting about the One Mix 4 is I think we're seeing this trend with a lot of the newer devices that GPD and OneNetbook come out with, like the GPD Pocket 3 as well. But they're starting to come out with basically full laptop-sized processors or powered processors, right? They're not coming with the Core M3, M5 that we used to see in the past, right? These guys used to come with these ultra-low voltage type of processors, like the Core M3 or M5, those type of processors. But now we're starting to see actual full-size laptop processors in them. So this is a Core i5 1130G7. So this is actually the type of processor you'll see in a much larger laptop. Comes with Iris Xe graphics as well. That's also something you'll see in a full-size laptop. Only 8 gigs of RAM, but that's actually pretty standard for a normal laptop as well. And 256 gig SSD. That's pretty standard as well. It's actually quite interesting. In the last decade, I don't think we've moved much past the 8 gig 256 gigabyte configuration. I mean, if you look at phones, right? Phones moved from what? 10 years ago, phones had like 256 or 512 megabytes of RAM, and now they're coming with 8 gigs of RAM, and laptops have came with 8 gigs of RAM before, and they pretty much unchanged. 256 gig storage, that's also been unchanged. So we've been stuck with 256 gig SSD storage on laptops for over a decade now. Whereas phones have just been, you know, they've increasing the RAM and storage up a lot. And now, if you buy like a phone like the Asus ROG Phone 5, I believe, it'll actually come, some of them might actually come with more RAM than this thing. Like, I think the Asus might actually come with 12 gigs of RAM. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that the configurations for laptops really have not improved much in the last 10 years. You still get 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gig of SSD. So yeah, this thing is a fingerprint magnet, and they have just a 1 on the lid here. Very, very minimalistic design. I think some of their older devices might have come with just nothing on the lid, or maybe that's GPD. GPD doesn't really have anything on the lid, but yeah, OneNetbook, they just go very minimalistic, just have like a 1 here. That's it. Not very eye-catching or anything, but yeah. So the weight of this device is 770 grams, which is about 1.7 pounds, and that's pretty light. I mean, it's not the lightest mini netbook or laptop that I've ever held. I mean, definitely the previous One Mix devices have all been smaller than this, but 1.7 is pretty good. That's about the weight of an iPad, I believe. So that's without the keyboard. So yeah, it's about the same weight as an iPad without the keyboard, and it's comparable to GPD's other devices in the same kind of form factor, like the GPD P2 Max. So it's fairly comparable to that. So yeah, it's reasonably light for the size, right? You got to remember that this one, the One Mix 4, is bigger than all the previous One Mix devices. This actually has a 10-inch display, which is a bigger display than all the previous One Mix devices. All right, so let's take a look at the ports first. All right, so around the left side, you get 2 USB 4 ports, I believe. They're Type-C, and you can charge them. I believe you can use any of them for charging, but the charging symbol is only on one of them. Then you have a micro SD card slot right here. Then on the right-hand side, we have another USB-C port along with a headphone jack. So this USB-C port, I believe, is only USB 3. The other ones on the back are USB 4. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Yeah, so 2 USB 4, 1 USB 3, but they're all USB-C. And then you got the power button there. So that's it. That's all the ports. There are no USB-A ports and no micro HDMI or display out or anything like that. You have to do it all from the USB-C ports. So I guess that's a little bit disappointing because there are still a lot of devices out there that use USB-A, and then it'll be better not to use like a dongle or something like that for video out, but it is what it is. You only get 3 USB-C, no USB-A, and a micro SD, and a headphone jack, of course, and that's pretty much it. All right, and let's open it up, and we'll see. This is actually pretty interesting because One Mix, or OneNetbook, I should say, on all of their devices so far, what I've noticed is that they use an optical track point nub here for navigation, which I'm not really a huge fan of. I mean, I've had ThinkPads before where you use the track point nub, and that's fine. But having the optical track point, for me, it's just not as good as having a trackpad. And that's one of the reasons I still prefer some of the GPD devices, like the P2 Max would probably be the most direct example to compare to this. The P2 Max has a very similar form factor to this one, and it has a trackpad down here, which is really pretty nice for the size. And I would rather prefer having a trackpad. To me, this is easier to use, and having that optical track point nub, it's just kind of hard to use. Yeah, so that's what I found. I'm not a huge fan of that optical track point nub. So that's on all the previous OneNetbook devices so far that I've experienced. But in this one, the One Mix 4, they finally started using a trackpad, which I actually like, and that actually drew me to this device. Because previously, you know, when I use One Mix or OneNetbook devices, I always have an issue with the track point nub. But this one, with the trackpad, this is something that is a lot more convenient for me to use. I'm just more used to it. So yeah, I mean, other people may prefer that optical track point nub, but for me, I like this trackpad better. So yeah, other than that, I think this is a pretty nice keyboard for the size. You got to remember this is a 10-inch laptop, and it is super compact, but it's also like the keyboard is also fairly usable, right? So it's at a size where the keyboard is fairly usable, I would say. It's not like going back to the days of when UMPCs and netbooks first reappeared back in 2016 with the GPD Pocket was the first one, right? And if you're talking about the One Netbook, the first one, the OneMix One 1S, I believe, I actually had. I had both the Pocket 1 and Pocket 2 and the OneMix Yoga 1. And yeah, those keyboards, because they're 7-inch small laptops, the keyboards are super cramped. And yeah, I get they're more portable and the form factor and stuff because they're 7 inches, but this is a lot more usable, right? Like I actually tried to use the GPD Pocket 1 just going on a small trip, and it was basically unusable. Not just because of the Atom processor, but because of the 7-inch display and the small keyboard. It's just too cramped. But this one, I would say is, I mean, the direct comparison is the GPD P2 Max in terms of the size. The P2 Max is about 9 inches. This one is a little bit bigger at 10 inches and about the same weight. But what I like about this keyboard is that it has a full 6 rows, right? And it's backlit. The P2 Max, one of the issues was the keyboard only had 5 rows, so it was missing a row. So you had to use function keys. Some of these keys were double mapped to function keys because of that. And it didn't have backlighting. So that's kind of an issue if you're gonna type or do work in the dark, right? But OneMix or OneNetbook, they usually put backlights on all their devices, and they usually keep the full size keyboard as well. So that's one of the things I always liked about their notebooks. And that's an addition just in general. I think OneNetbook devices have been generally pretty reliable, whereas GPD devices, if you look up my previous videos, I've had to fix the Win2, I've had to fix the micro PC. There's been issues with a lot of those that I've had. So yeah, in my experience, OneNetbook devices have been more reliable as well. So for a couple of reasons, I do prefer OneNetbook devices in general to GPD devices. So yeah, this one, the OneMix 4, adds the trackpad, taking away like the optical track point nub was one of the few things I disliked about OneNetbook devices. But they replaced that with the trackpad, and this is actually, to me, it's not even like a glass one. It's like a metal trackpad, which is actually pretty cool feeling. Yeah, and doesn't have dedicated click buttons, but oh well, this is the modern style, right? You click on the whole trackpad, and I definitely like this style better. And yeah, the keyboard is pretty nice for this size. It's a 10-inch laptop. I mean, you have to compromise somewhere by making the keys a little bit cramped, but it's still, I mean, this is a pretty nice keyboard, I would say, given the size constraints, right? And you still got the 6 rows, you got a full 6 rows. So you still have more keys than the P2 Max does. And the one thing is the arrow keys. I feel like the arrow keys could be a little bit bigger. If you're going through, like, if you're navigating a lot, I think these navigation keys are a bit small. That's pretty much my only complaint about this. And the shift key here is pretty small too. But yeah, other than that, not too many compromises, right? So caps lock is fairly well sized in the right location. Some of the other ones I've seen have it cut off. Tab is in the right location. Some of the other GPD devices or OneNetbook devices I've noticed actually move this up. So this is in the right location. These are all in the right location. It's just, yeah, maybe the smaller shift key and the navigation buttons are a bit small, but other than that, pretty nice keyboard, pretty nice layout, I would say. And the trackpad is definitely very nice. So yeah, 10-inch display here, full touchscreen, of course. It has a resolution of 2560 by 1600. It's a 16:10 aspect ratio, which you'll see on most other GPD and OneNetbook devices. And yeah, just like other OneNetbook devices, it's a touchscreen, it's convertible. So that's another thing, by the way, that you don't really get on the P2 Max that you do get here, is that convertible functionality, right? So actually you can do this yoga mode and you can fold it flat, like basically all of other OneNetbook's devices. So yeah, similar to the OneNetbook Yoga devices, and I think this is basically the OneNetbook Yoga 4, right? Or the OneMix Yoga 4. That's essentially what this is. It doesn't specifically call itself a yoga, but it is, right? It's definitely a yoga device. You can fold it down, 360-degree hinge. It doesn't come with a pen, unfortunately, but yeah, you do have this nice IPS display, high resolution. 16:10 aspect ratios is good for, it's a good compromise between watching movies and reading documents and stuff, and you can fold it down like a tablet. It's not too heavy, it's 1.7, 1.6, 1.7 pounds. So, I mean, you can definitely hold it for a while. I mean, it's not ideal, you know, to use it in this mode because it's still kind of heavy, but at the same time, you won't be busting yourself like you will with some of the other convertibles out there, right? Like some of the convertibles for the ThinkPad Yoga, for example, there's a 14-inch convertibles, or some of the Dell XPS 2-in-1s. Yeah, you're not going to be holding those in tablet mode. This one, you can actually kind of hold it in tablet mode. And then, of course, you have the stand mode, which you can use. I use it for watching movies and stuff like that. I think this mode is super convenient for that. Or you have this other mode called, they call this tent mode, but I think you would usually use this for presentations and stuff like that, I guess. So, yeah, some people use it for presentations and stuff. You can also use it for watching media. I don't use this tent mode that often. I usually use stand mode for watching media. Maybe I might fold it down flat into tablet mode. If I have a pen, maybe I have some notes to write in this mode. And most of the time, I would probably just put it into plain old laptop mode here. So yeah, all in all, fairly versatile, just like most of OneNetbook's other devices. That's another thing I like about OneNetbook is they always add additional functionality to devices over GPDs. GPD usually comes out with it first, but then OneNetbook kind of improves on it, you know, adds a touchscreen, makes it convertible, adds a better keyboard. So yeah, I think in general, I can say that. So yeah, for comparison, I don't have the GPD P2 Max. That would be the most direct comparison. But I do have the predecessor to the One Mix 4, which is the One Mix 3. So here is the One Mix Yoga 3 that I have, and I've had this for almost 3 years now. I bought this back in 2019. So yeah, I still use it sometimes. I actually use it for visual novels a lot, and for watching movies sometimes, if I want to bring it on a plane or something like that. So you can see the keyboard layout is fairly similar, I would say. Just this one has a fingerprint sensor up on the top right here, whereas for the for this one, the One Mix 4, they actually moved the fingerprint sensor, I believe, to the power button. So this power button on the One Mix 4 doubles as a fingerprint sensor. I think I would actually prefer to have this one because it's a lot more prominent and it's easy to see. I mean, I guess you could just, you know, log in like this and then get in and stuff. So that's pretty useful as well. But it's just you got to remember, oh, it's on the power button. So yeah, I guess it's convenient though. If you're going to power up your computer, you might as well use your fingerprint sensor there anyways. Oh yeah, the caps lock here is compromised because this is actually an 8-inch laptop. The One Mix 3 is 8 inches, so it has to compromise somewhere. And as you can see, the tab key and the caps lock key got compromised here. Yeah, the tab actually moved up here, which is annoying, and the caps lock got shrunken. And I think for most of the other buttons, it's fairly similar. It's just the tab and the caps lock definitely got compromised here. The navigation arrows are fairly comparable. And of course, this little track point nub here that OneNetbook puts on all their devices, which I don't like, right? Just, I'm not used to it. The first laptop I actually saw using this was a SharpNet Walker way back, a few years ago when I bought that, and I didn't like it then. I understand you can save some space and stuff, but I'm just not used to this thing. It's like you gotta use this, click like this, click like this. It's just not ergonomic, not comfortable to use, right? I don't really know how you're supposed to use it. Like, are you using it with your thumb? Are you using it with your index finger? I just don't really know what's the right way to use this optical trackpad. It's not something I like. And that's one of the few things I don't like about the One Mix Yoga 3. I think for the size and capabilities, the One Mix Yoga 3 is a really nice laptop. So yeah, it's mainly the optical track point nub that I don't like about the One Mix Yoga 3. Otherwise, I think the One Mix Yoga 3 is a pretty nice device for its size. It's a full 6-row keyboard. The P2 Max does not. It has backlit keyboard. The P2 Max does not. It's convertible. Has a touchscreen. The P2 Max does not. But yeah, the compromised tab key and the caps lock key, I can understand that because they had to fit They had to compromise on something, right? But yeah, it's just this thing was the main problem. The main issue I had just with the usability of this. But now with the One Mix 4, adding this trackpad in, that definitely fixes that issue. And this keyboard, because it's a bigger sized device, they can make less compromises. They can put in the full tab key where they should put it. The caps lock is bigger. Yeah, so I think the One Mix 4 may become my main device now. Otherwise, it has the same capabilities as the One Mix Yoga 3. Of course, it's more powerful, right? This one you actually use the Core M3 processor, I believe, whereas the One Mix 4 uses the full laptop-sized Core i5. So of course it's a lot more powerful, and the graphics are a lot more powerful as well. So yeah, that's about it. One other small thing I noticed, maybe just nitpicking, but the indicator lights, there's more indicator lights on the Yoga 3 than there are on the One Mix 4, which only has one. It only has the power indicator. This one also has some battery charging indicator, caps lock indicator. I wonder why they did away with those. Yeah. Of course, I also have to mention this as well. The One Mix Yoga 3 has a full-size USB-A port, which is, of course, better compatibility with legacy devices. Or still, like a lot of devices today use USB-A ports still. I wouldn't even say it's just for legacy, but the One Mix 4 does not. So just like with an old MacBook, you'll have to use a dongle or an adapter to connect your old USB-A devices or new USB-A devices. So, yep, that's another thing I kind of don't like about the One Mix 4. I wish they would put I wish they would put at least one USB-A port. Like, take one of the USB-Cs out. I mean, you have 3 of them. I'm okay if you take one of them out. But give me like a USB-A port and no micro HDMI, right? The One Mix Yoga 3, the Yoga 3 has a micro HDMI out. One Mix 4 doesn't have that either. So I guess OneNetbook is now expecting you to use USB-C for everything. So that's something to keep in mind. You'll probably have to carry a few more adapters or dongles or something like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the overview and comparison here. The logo changed from just having the stamped One Mix logo to now an imprinted one. They don't even have their company name on it anymore. Not sure why. I mean, or the product model or line, right? One Mix used to appear, now it doesn't have One Mix on it anymore. Not sure why exactly they did that. But yeah, you can see the size of the One Mix 4, and for another comparison, I have my iPad Pro with a bridge keyboard attached to it. This is the 10.5-inch iPad Pro here, so you can see just how big the iPad Pro in comparison to the One Mix 4 is, right? So One Mix 4, yeah, it's definitely smaller, and it's actually pretty impressive because the iPad Pro, this is a 10.5-inch iPad Pro, and the One Mix 4 has a 10.1-inch screen. So you're actually saving quite a bit, given that you still have a 10-inch screen, right? Yeah, so you're saving quite a bit. So yeah, and it's less heavy too. This thing is like 2.2 pounds with the keyboard attached. This is 1.7. So yeah, decent 0.5 pound reduction, and also reduction in size as well. And of course, it's running full Windows, full-blown Windows instead of iPad OS. And then the One Mix Yoga 3, of course, will be smaller because it is an 8-inch laptop. So yeah, there you guys can see the size comparisons here. And then if you have a full-size laptop, like this is my MacBook M1 from 2020, this MacBook Air M1 from 2020, which is a 13-inch laptop. You can see just how the size compares. So yes, just to give you an idea of how small it actually is, this is a normal size laptop, the MacBook Air M1 from 2020, and then this is the iPad Pro 10.5 from 2017 with the keyboard attached, and then this is the One Mix 4 and the One Mix Yoga 3, which is still the smallest out of them because it's an 8-inch device. Yeah, and yeah, I wish I had a GPD P2 Max for comparison, but I don't. But I will say that I definitely would prefer the One Mix 4 over the P2 Max for sure, because it's newer, it's got a more powerful processor, it's got a bigger display, it weighs around the same, has a full-size 6-row keyboard, not full-size, but it's got a full 6-row keyboard with backlighting, Also has a trackpad, convertible with touchscreen. I would think this is better than the P2 Max in every way. And I don't think it even costs that much more than the P2 Max does. So yeah, I would definitely take the One Mix 4 over the P2 Max. Now the GPD Pocket 3 is also coming out, which I will probably get in a few weeks. That one I don't think directly competes with the One Mix 4. It actually competes more with the One Mix Yoga 3 because it is an 8-inch laptop, not a 10-inch laptop. Like just size-wise, I don't think the One Mix Yoga 3 directly competes with the One Mix 4, just because it's a different size. So this is an 8-inch, and it will be competing with more the GPD Pocket 3, which is also another 8-inch. This one, the One Mix 4, it's competing with other 10-inch devices, which are going to be some Chromebooks. Obviously, this is more powerful than a lot of the Chromebooks out there. Competes a little bit more with the iPad Pros. When iPad Pro is a little bit of an interesting case because people who use iPads are generally not looking just for a direct comparison to Windows laptops, right? They're using iPads because they have iPad OS and they run some specific application that they like. So it's not a direct comparison to an iPad Pro, but it is kind of when you're talking about size. And then the GPD P2 Max will probably be the one to compare to in terms of the size. But I think this is better than the P2 Max in every way. So yeah, guys, that is the OneNetbook One Mix 4. I think this is definitely one of the most powerful and most promising devices that OneNetbook has put out. I mean, they pretty much nailed it. They got the form factor, they got all the functionality, they put in a pretty decent keyboard without compromising too much. They put in a trackpad, which I like a lot better than the optical nub. The keys feel pretty good. It's like other OneNetbook laptops. I think it's definitely, I mean, it's not a ThinkPad keyboard or anything like that, but, or a MacBook keyboard for that matter, but I'd say it's good enough for a laptop of this size, right? So it's definitely not too bad, and they put in a pretty nice looking, this is a micro bezel display, I guess that's what they call it. So it's pretty nice looking, and they put in all the functionality and everything, and they put a lot of power into it as well. It has the same GPU and CPU as a full-size Ultrabook or premium laptop. So yeah, I think OneNetbook definitely has a winner on their hands here with the One Mix 4. So if you guys are thinking about having a super portable device, maybe to bring on business trips, or when you're traveling, maybe you want to watch some movies on the go, or you want to type up a quick document or surf web pages and you're on a train or on the plane or something, then I think the One Mix 4 is definitely a good device to look at. Just everything, good weight, good size, good functionality, didn't compromise too much, good amount of power. So yeah, I definitely think this is the most promising device that OneNetbook has come out with yet, that I've gotten in my hands at least. So yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions or comments about this device, how it performs, how it compares. I'm not going to boot it up in this video because it's just going to be your standard Windows 10, Windows 11 experience. And I'm not really going to be playing like, some super demanding games or anything like that. You have to keep in mind it does use the Iris Xe graphics, so just keep those expectations in mind. But I think in general, when you're talking about, what is the best I just want to have a small portable laptop that runs Windows, right? I don't want an iPad. I want a small machine that's like 10 inches or smaller even, right? If you want something 10 inches or smaller, but I don't want an iPad because that runs iPad OS. I want a full desktop operating system. I want something that's performant, portable, very functional, has a good keyboard, has a touch display, everything. Then I think you should definitely be taking a look at the OneNetbook One Mix 4. And that's it, guys. As always, thanks for watching.